The advice given on sex and other human activities is for entertainment purposes only. If you've got a question for us, send us an email at cavecomedyradio@gmail.com.
I love everyone under the bridge.
Louder.
If you're gonna let me down gently. Don't pretend that you don't want me. I love ain't no one under the bridge. I love it, Adele.
We're getting into Adele at Sex and Other Human Activities. I'm Marcus Parks, everybody.
I'm Jackie Zebrowski. It's just stuck in my head.
Just Adele's just stuck in your head. You've been listening to Adele today?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been trying to feel empowered.
Well, I mean, are you feeling empowered because you had a bit of a panic attack last night?
I did have a very big panic attack last night. And especially it's one of those things too when it's been a few weeks.
Oh yeah.
And I've been on a good stretch. I've been feeling good. And then just all of it. It was just, I was on fire. My brain was on fire. It was just, you know, when it's all of a sudden, it's like you're looking at your next few days, it's like, oh man, everything's going to be great. And then you get one thing, and then it's one thing, and then it's one thing, and then it's, everything is backed up. And then it's, you look at your next few days, and it's going to be 2.5 days of just, oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to handle it. Mm-hmm. So I had a panic attack last night, pretty harsh. Usually I tend to have panic attacks alone, and I didn't. I was with Doug, and we were hanging out with our roommates, and I just had to take a break because I just got one more email, and I just burst into tears, and I went to the other room, and of course, you know, he's used to that. I cry a lot, but he didn't know if it was a good thing or it was a bad, he just didn't. So he came in, I was just like, I need a few minutes. He said, okay. So he just took his guitar and sat outside of the bedroom, just kind of keyed around while I sat and just on the bed looking into the mirror, telling myself that everything was going to be okay. And then I came back out, and he's like, so what's going on? And we talked about it, and he helped me go through step by step of what my schedule was going to be and what I had to do. And one of the biggest things is that, you know, I still have a day job, and when all of these other things build up, going to a day job is imperative because I need the money, and you have to have the money. But sometimes if you can find something in your schedule to say no to that will make everything a lot easier, you have to. And I'm very bad at that. And he really helped me that he finally was like, you have to just take off work tomorrow.
Well, you're just generally bad at saying no.
I am.
Yeah.
Always. I'm always bad at saying no. Especially if it's something that, you know, I think is going to be a great next big thing, and it never is. And so you say yes, 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 and it is very hard for me. And he helped me to say no to that, and it immediately made my chest relax. It made my whole body completely, and it didn't take away all of the stress, but that one big chunk of time, sometimes time is just worth so much more than money. But I feel like not only in our business, but in everybody's lives, you think that making money is the number one principle, that you have to make the money. And sometimes, for the sake of your sanity, you can't make the money.
Yeah, sometimes you do have to make the money. Sometimes you got to make rent, and sometimes you just got to power through. That's just a fact of life.
Yes.
But sometimes you can give up a little bit of that money for some sanity. And I think if you have that opportunity, you should take it. If if it's one of those things where it's like, okay, I'm having a panic attack, I've got way too much going on this week, and that can be for anybody. You know, it could be a college student with way too many tests. It could be
people
somebody
with multiple jobs. I mean, everyone gets themselves in these situations.
Everybody absolutely does. But sometimes you might have to eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for the sake of your sanity, and that is completely and totally okay, and in fact is preferable. Sometimes you just have to do it. Sometimes you have to give up little creature comforts for the sake of your own sanity, and I think that's a very important lesson to learn.
And I mean, and I know this sounds so silly because I'm not a big Valentine's Day person, but I looked at him and I was like, this is the money I wanted to spend on your Valentine's Day gift. And he's like, when have we ever given a fuck about Valentine's Day?
Yeah, exactly.
What does it matter? He's like, you know what I want to do? I want to hang out with you and watch a movie.
Yeah.
And that's free
that's
at home.
That's me and Carolina are doing. She is getting a good old-fashioned playlist for
There you go.
for Valentine's Day.
And then he finally told me that he's making me something for Valentine's Day. I was just like, and then of course I burst into tears because of that. And it was, it's not even, and it's just funny because I feel like it's the like age-old lore of like, oh, it must be her time of the month. It's like he knows, like it's not at all. I just, the tears, I just can't stop a lot. And so it's things like that sometimes he knew I needed help, and he was good at helping me by not forcing me to do anything, but by guiding me. And that is something that is very useful, not only with people that have issues, but just in general, that if someone's going through a bad time, someone like that obviously just needs to be talked to, that sometimes, all the time, you can't force anybody to do anything, but you can guide them into making a better decision.
It's what we've talked about before, is helping someone to feel human. Just because when you're in the middle of a panic attack or in the middle of depression or a manic phase or something like that, you don't feel human. And that's what you got to do with your partner who's going through stuff, is you got to make them feel human again. Just guide them back to some form of normalcy, whatever that means for that person. Because we all have a different definition of normalcy.
Yes. I wouldn't say.
Nobody's baseline is the same.
No.
So you just got to help them, guide them back to their version of normalcy, and that's really all you can do. You can't fix anybody. You can't fix anything for anybody else. If you're having a problem, the only person that can fix that problem is you. But if you have a partner that's going through something, what you can do is just guide them back to steady ground.
And that's what happened. And and honestly, that was the best Valentine's Day gift I could have gotten, was him talking me off of a ledge last night.
Yeah, him just saying, say no.
Say no.
Just say no. That's all you got to do. And everybody is allowed to say no. And I think some people who suffer from anxiety, I think they say yes because of anxiety. I think you say yes because of anxiety, because you are worried that if you don't say yes to everything, you're going to miss the big thing. And I think a lot of people do that a lot of people with anxiety do that. And I think the important thing is that saying no will a lot of times alleviate more anxiety than saying yes.
I mean, even to a point that I have a good friend of mine that just makes me think of that I just realized I think she probably does have anxiety issues. That even if she doesn't come out with us for like we're going out to get drinks, I have to send her pictures of what's happening when we're hanging out, just in case anything like great happens. And she's 33 years old, right? You know, it's not like a young person that I'm talking about here, but I mean, that is just a different form of anxiety, that even if you do say no for something like that, for either, financial reasons or for sanity reasons or to get some sleep or just to have a night in, and you still want to be involved, that's a whole other anxiety party, I think.
But the important thing to remember is that you can't always say no.
Right.
That's you still have to say yes, and you still have to get yourself out of your comfort zone sometimes, because that's a part of getting over anxiety, is putting yourself outside of your comfort zone. But you have to make a decision as to what is getting outside of your comfort zone and what is keeping your sanity intact.
Well, and I think that is, if you identify as someone that always says yes, then you should say no sometimes. And if you identify as someone that always says no, say yes.
Yeah.
I think, and that's a good thing to live by, just in general. And it's like, well, I've said, no to the past 15 things. I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
I'm going to get out of the house today, and I'm going to do this.
Yeah. And if you're worried about like, well, what is saying yes to get out of my comfort zone, and what is saying no to get out of my comfort zone, if you're wondering how to tell the difference between the two, most of the time you can't until you actually do it. You're going to have to do some trial and error, because that's what dealing with mental illness is all about. It's all about trial and error. because there is no answer. There is no one thing that works for everybody. There's no one thing that we can all do. It's all trial and error. So just remember that, because if you make a fuck up, or if if things don't turn out the way that you really want them to, don't beat yourself up over it. You're just trying out something new. You're trying out what works for you. And the longer it goes, the more you can narrow things down to a tailor-made life.
But it's actually interesting. I think that just put new perspective on my panic attack last evening, was that I'm in a new place in my career, not, otherwise, but the fact that I'm working alone for the first time ever. And that is scary. Because I've worked with other people my whole life.
What, 13
years? My whole career, yeah. I've written with people, I've acted with people. I always have someone by my side. And now I'm doing things alone, and it's fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do it alone.
I don't know how to do it alone.
But you're right, it's trial and error. It's just, some things are going to work, and some things aren't going to work. And you take it thing by thing.
Yeah. Thing. But thing.
Oh, God, I'm crying.
Well, we can get into the letters. Let's get into letters. All right.
Yeah. I'm not crying. I'm just leaking.
I'm just leaking. What are we going to call this first dude?
Fish and chips.
Hey, fish and chips. I like that. Fishy and chippy.
What's fishy and chippy?
I don't know.
I thought it was something. I was like, tell me more about it. I want to know.
It's just a happy song.
Oh, I like it. Thank you. I needed the happy song.
Of course. I know how to cheer you up.
Make a happy song. What am I?
If you need some cheering up, get a happy song in your heart.
It's in my heart. I feel it. It's replaced the empowerment of Adele. I needed a happy song.
All right, here we go. Hey, Marcus and Jackie, touching on your last show, I've had depression for the last 3 years and haven't accepted any drug because I used breathing techniques and meditation, but to be honest, it can only get me so far. I'm not sure whether or not I should accept medication, since drugs and psychedelics got me into this mess in the first place, but meditation and looking inward really helps. Thanks for a good show, guys, and I enjoy following your journey, Marcus. The things you experience I can relate to, so if you find a quote-unquote cure, let me know. Sincerely, Fish and Chips. Of course, if you haven't listened to the last episode, I have been going through, finding the right medication, going through a lot of depression stuff over the last couple of months. And I am cautiously reporting that seems like this new medication is working out pretty good.
You got a good aura.
Thank you.
You got a good aura.
I feel like I got a good aura. Yeah. I feel like I'm doing okay. The problem with these medications is that, you'll start to feel good, and then a little while in, the side effects can start to kick in. So I haven't really had any side effects other than some light drowsiness, which is fine. I can absolutely deal with some light drowsiness. It's just another thing to adjust to. So, I'm waiting for the side effect to kick in like it did with the last one, the restlessness and the anxiety. I'm kind of waiting for a side effect to kick in, but so far I've been on it for a few weeks and it's working out pretty good.
Hell yeah.
The other thing that this was actually something that a listener wrote in and suggested to me, B vitamins. I don't know if it really has a hell of a whole lot to do with how I'm feeling. All I know is that I've been taking B vitamins for about a week, and I have noticed a change. I have noticed a little bit more energy. I have noticed having a little bit more of an appetite. I don't know if it has anything to do with how I'm feeling, but I will say that I am feeling better, and I have been taking these B vitamins. And you know what? If it doesn't have anything to do with it, if it's not medically accurate, I don't give a shit.
Hell no.
I don't care. And I really want to thank the listener. I don't have her name in front of me right now, but I really, you know who you are. Thank you for writing in about the B vitamins. I've been checking it out, and it's working out pretty good. So I can say, as far as Fish and Chips, as far as your question goes about drugs and psychedelics getting you into the mess in the first place, dude, me too. I can definitely say that my hardcore weed smoking habit that I had for many years, in which
I forget Weed Marcus. I met you as Weed Marcus.
Yeah, you totally met me as Weed Marcus. Yeah, I had like 3 bongs.
It was crazy. God, we smoked so much weed.
So much weed. God, I'd smoke weed. I was like everyone's weed dealer.
Yeah.
Because I had the delivery service hookup, so like everyone would come to my place to get weed, and then we'd end up like smoking and hanging out and listening to music and having a pretty good time. But as the years went on, weed started affecting me negatively more and more and more. It just upped my paranoia so fucking high. And it had always kind of hit me, paranoia, here and there, like throughout the years. But it was still, there was enough fun to overshadow the paranoia, and then the paranoia took over. That does not mean that medication is going to affect me like drugs do, like hallucinogenics do, because pot is a hallucinogen, right? It's classified as a hallucinogen.
I thought it was the downy one.
A depressant?
Depressant.
No, it's definitely not a depressant.
Not a
I'm pretty sure weed is classified as a hallucinogen. And I can also get having a bad trip and having it fuck you up pretty hard, which is probably what you're talking about. I had a really terrible trip in college that fucked me up pretty hard for a little while because I was taking shrooms at least a couple times a week for an entire semester, and then I finally had a bad trip where I smoked a joint with my buddy Tom that was like a toilet paper roll size. I mean, I'm talking like this was the biggest joint I had ever seen, and I also ate some mushrooms and had the worst trip of my life where I descended into hell through my toilet, but eventually rode out of hell on a space roller coaster.
I mean, it's pretty great. It sounds pretty horrifying and pretty great.
It was pretty great, but that hell part of it really stuck with me, and it fucked me up pretty bad. And it was soon after that I had my first bipolar break. I don't know if the two are connected, but it is very possible that they were. So yeah, I've gone through the hallucinogenics. I've gone through the hardcore weed habit. And I'm definitely not going to say addiction because I quit weed so fucking easily. It was ridiculous. Because weed isn't necessarily addictive to most of us. There were no
the amount I used to smoke, and I didn't really miss it.
Yeah,
I mean, now I've been smoking more weed, but like I don't crave it.
No,
it's not like I gotta have it, man. I mean, as someone that was a speed addict for a really long time, it's not the same.
Yeah, it's not the same at all. Yeah, nor is it the same as my cocaine habit. Like it's something that's totally different. But just because you had a bad experience with that does not mean you're going to have a bad experience with medication, nor does it mean that you should equate medication to hallucinogens and drugs just because they have the same name, drugs and drugs. That does not equate the two. And as far as you using breathing techniques and meditation, to be honest, it can only get you so far. Same here, man. I mean, for years, doing therapy and also doing a lot of like the chaos magic stuff and doing a lot of the writing that I did, it only got me so far. It only got me to a point of barely holding on, a point of management that was not where I needed it to be to live a full, happy, healthy life. I needed medication to give me that extra boost, just to pop me up to that level where I felt human, to where I felt normal, where I didn't have to depend so much on this other like constant maintenance type thing that really wasn't even working that well to begin with. Don't be afraid. Do not be afraid of medication. If you can, I'm talking to everybody else out there, if you can get over your depression and anxiety and all that type of stuff, I say try to do it without medication first.
Yes.
Try that first, because if you can do it without medication, that's fucking amazing. It's great because, you don't have, it's not anywhere near as expensive. And honestly, you feel a little bit better knowing that you did it all yourself. However, some of us can't do that. Some of us do not have it within us to overcome biology.
It's chemicals.
Because that's what it is. It is biology. It is not being weak. It is not having enough willpower. It's nothing like that. It is straight up biology. It is straight up chemicals. You can't beat diabetes through meditation. You know what I mean? Like, that is a medical type thing, just like this is. You can't beat a medical thing just through non-medical means.
I don't know too much about this, but now that I'm thinking about it, it might be interesting for Fish and Chips to look into what is it about, like, whatever psychedelics, whatever that you feel that you took that got you to that place, what does that affect in your body? How does it affect your body? What is changing? Like, what is it, your thyroid? Is it your gallbladder? I know nothing. Obviously, I know absolutely nothing about this. But
is it your pooter? Is it your rumble dum?
But if you look into what those affect and what it does versus what taking an antidepressant affects, what taking, an antipsychotic affects, anti-anxiety medication, looking at the difference in how it actually affects your body, I feel like would help you be okay with trying it out.
Yeah.
To see, it's like, okay, well, it's not even going there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it's completely different in how it affects you and how it takes over. Even just to think of the plain fact that, you eat mushrooms and 20 minutes later you're puking or you're smiling.
Yeah.
And that's not how it is for taking mental illness medication, that you need weeks for it to get into your system. So that alone, that it's not the same.
Yeah.
That it is different. And maybe thinking about it more in that just like basic terms will make you feel better about it.
Mm-hmm. And, some people, but hell, we're seeing studies now that, shrooms help people with depression. We're even seeing studies now that, like, microdosing LSD is really helping people with depression.
Microdosing.
Macrodosing. So I'm not going to discount that stuff. I'm not going to say, and some people, weed really helps with their depression, and it really helps with their anxiety. I'm not saying that it's one or the other. I'm not saying that you can either smoke weed and, do hallucinogens, or you have to take medication. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that one thing works for some people and one thing works for other people, and you got to find out which one works for you. Obviously, for you and for me, hallucinogens do not work. They do not work for us. Got to stay away from them. They're bad for us. But for me personally, and it might be for you too, medication does work. So you got to figure out which one you are. And you got to take the plunge. Just take the plunge. Just try it out. Just try it out. See what happens. And
make an appointment with a psychologist.
Yeah.
Sit and talk about it. Find out what it's going to do to you.
Yeah.
And I think it'll make you feel better.
I think so. All right, let's move on to our next letter. All right, this one is a little bit long, but we're going to go through it because I think this is an important one. All right, what are we going to call her?
Paula Abdul.
Cause opposites attract.
And oh, that cat. He was saucy.
You saucy cat. All right. Hey, Jackie and Marcus. I love you guys and want to first say thank you so much for all your shows, especially this one. I've been wanting to ask you guys for help for a while now, and after a fight with my husband this weekend about this topic, I finally decided to reach out. Try to stay with me on this long question. We will.
I'm with you.
With you. My husband and I are approaching our 5-year wedding anniversary. We got married young after college, but the moment I met him, I knew he was the one. I never believed in love at first sight or even marriage before I met him. However, there is one problem that you guys know a lot about. He loves porn and masturbating. I had no problem with previous boyfriends doing this, but in those relationships, we had sex multiple times a week. My longest relationship before my husband was 3 years, with a happy couple handfuls of relationships. So I had some experience and didn't feel like I missed that boat before getting married. Now, back to my current situation. We dated for 3 years before getting married. I found out pretty soon that he watched porn. I thought, whatever, everyone does it, even me. But I noticed our sex life was non-existent unless I instigated the sex. It's always great when we do have sex and he's the only guy to make me orgasm during intercourse. However, I want sex multiple times a week, hell, at least once or a couple times a month, but we go weeks or a month without sex. My dumbass thought maybe he was holding off for more sex once we're married and would lessen the porn, Not true. Over the years, my confidence in front of him has been erased. I never look at any of his devices, even when he offers for me to use his laptop to look something up, because it makes me sick to my stomach to always see porn on his computer. Obviously, he gets horny, but not for me. Half the time he instigates sex, we are stoned and or drunk. I've tried talking to him. I've tried meditating and getting over it. I've tried to be the instigator again, like the dating days. I used the last podcast on the left coupon to get a toy from Adam and Eve, but pleasuring myself is not the same as human touch. I'm confident around other men and find myself flirting because I want some kind of attention. He never touches me or acts affectionately unless I say something. Also, whenever I've tried talking about the porn and how it has affected me in our relationship, he gets mad and says it makes him want it more. I know, Marcus, you mentioned on the last roundtable you had 2 girlfriends that didn't let you look at porn. I've told him he doesn't have to stop. He just has to try to work with me, or I'm scared I'm going to have an affair. So what can I do? I get hit on by men all the time. I'm proud to say and know I'm hot. I'm approaching 30. It's the female prime. It's making me crazy how much I need a man. Masturbation is not enough for me. He has no reason to not be attracted to me other than the scary negative effects of porn addiction. Do you guys have any advice for how to talk to him or approach this situation without making him mad?
Leave him. I know that this is not. I'm not even saying this lightly. I know that sex is not the number one thing in a relationship, but you didn't mention anything else, though.
Yeah, it's fucking top 3.
It is up there, and the fact that you have tried so many things that maybe, you know, if does he want to have an open relationship? Is that something that you can broach that say, I need to have sex, I have to have it? Is this something that maybe you can go from there? But the fact that when you bring it up, he gets mad about it, that obviously he's feeling shame and he's guilty about it, but he's not doing anything about it.
No, and then she said, she went on the letter, said, I've even asked him if we should end the relationship, but he doesn't want to. However, I'm not seeing any changes.
Then I think your options are broaching an open relationship if that is something that you guys can discuss, that you have to have this, or he's not working with you.
Or he goes to therapy. I mean, that
he should talk about this.
It sounds like if he's got an addiction this hardcore, and it also seems like, I mean, maybe there's other problems here, because she said that she opens up his computer and there's porn on it. That just shows us such an extreme lack of disrespect.
It's disrespect.
It's disrespect. You know, and that's the thing is that, you know, me and my girlfriend, we're both very, you know, pro-porn, pro-masturbation. We both love it. But I always close out the porn that I watch.
Yeah, I close it.
After, because we, you know, share my laptop. I always close out the porn, just, you know, that's just out of respect.
It is respectful.
It is, even though she does not care whatsoever about me masturbating. But on the other hand, I don't do it that often. I watch porn like a couple of times a week. It's not a problem like it is with your husband, who knows that it's a problem. He knows that it is a problem with you, and it is a huge point of contention between you, and yet he doesn't even try to hide it. Not that he should hide it, but he doesn't even show you respect of not having it right out in the open and shoving it in your face, because it seems like he's shoving it in your face like, yeah, use my computer. Oh, sorry, there's porn on there. He's got a porn addiction. Like, this is a straight up addiction here.
And I wonder, I mean, I don't even know if you know, but like, what kind of porn is he watching? I don't think that has anything to do with your attractiveness, no. But no. I say that, but of course I would feel the same way. Any person would feel that same way, because it's hard not to. We're human.
Yeah.
But is there specific things that he's watching? What is he doing? But I think you're right, Marcus. I think he needs to talk to somebody. But I feel like with the way that you have kind of brought him to life in this email, that he wouldn't be open to talking to anyone about it.
No, it sounds like he doesn't think there's anything wrong with what he's doing, when it's obviously hurting you and it's obviously bothering you, because it sounds like you've been pretty forthcoming with how much this is fucking with you. So I don't know if maybe this is the one thing about him that kind of sucks, but it also kind of sounds like is that if he's this insensitive and about this, then there's got to be other shit. It can't just be this.
That's what I mean.
This is hardcore character
Yes.
flaw stuff here.
Yeah, the fact that you can be with that he's married to someone and he just isn't listening to you and doesn't give a fuck that he's upsetting you. That is a much bigger deal than not having sex.
Yeah.
That to me is a deal breaker, that if you don't respect me and you won't listen to anything I have to say, even consider anything that I have to say, then where do you go from here? How do you make bigger decisions? You're not even 30 yet. Mm-hmm. How do you continue? What about, are you going to have a family? Are you going to do, the bigger questions will arise. And if he won't talk to you about things, that's a huge issue.
Yeah, it's gigantic. And by the way, your sex drive is only going to get stronger.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with a 34-year-old woman right now. Woo, Lord. I mean, it is only going to get stronger as you get further into your 30s. This is not going to calm down. And you cannot be with a man who will not fuck you. You're going to go insane. You're going to lose your fucking mind.
And some people are okay with it, though, and that is okay.
Some people are totally okay with it, but if your sex drive is already high right now, it is only going to get higher. So you have to talk to him and say, either you fuck me or you leave me. That's it. Either you fuck me, you leave me, or you get help about this. Because he's obviously not going to get over this on his own. He obviously has an addiction to porn and to masturbating. And you also, but that's the other thing, is that some dudes like masturbating more than they like sex. That's just how it is. So tell him,
easier.
listen, it's a lot easier, and that's what you can tell him. It's like, listen, if you need a woman that just gives you hand jobs while you watch porn, that woman is out there. That woman is absolutely out there for him. He can find that woman. But you are a woman that needs to fuck. You're a woman that needs to have sex. And it's obvious that he's not the man who likes to fuck. Or he does, and he's just addicted to porn, and he needs to get over that. But there has to be a change, or else you got to leave him.
Well, because that's what I wanted to offer, that maybe you guys watch porn together and you have sex while you're watching porn. But it seems like Paula Abdul's the kind of person that would have already tried this.
Yeah.
And I feel like I don't know too much about porn addiction, but I feel like that it has to have something to do with, being alone and that kind of thing, that he probably wouldn't want to share that with you, which is also, again, an issue that you don't want to share a big part of your life with me, and then that is, especially with your sex life. It's also, bar none, I don't know if that's the right term for this. He also just makes you unattracted to him, I imagine.
Yeah.
The fact that you're hitting on, it's like just for the affection, just to be, even just grazed by another man, that this isn't attractive anymore. And that is also okay to accept. That, as people grow up, this is something that you knew was an issue then, and you thought that it was like, well, we'll grow into this, or he'll grow past it, and he hasn't. It's okay that you have grown up and changed, and he hasn't. And if he's not willing to meet you there, you are well within your right to move on and find someone that will meet you at your level.
Yeah. And I would imagine you're married, and I would imagine that it would, you might be a little bit reticent to divorce him over this.
It's hard.
Over sex, because people are going to ask why you're getting divorced, and it's hard to tell people because he wouldn't fuck me. And you don't have to. You really don't have to. You can just say, listen, it just didn't work out. We just are incompatible, and things just didn't work out the way that I thought that it would. We got married probably too young. We've changed as people. We've grown apart. So you can keep this private. You don't have to worry about this type of shit. You just have to make yourself happy, because obviously he does not give a fuck about your happiness.
And you're too young to just lock in.
Yeah.
And
you can't just lock in.
And marriage, divorce is expensive, but it will be worth it. And the freedom you will feel afterwards to make you feel, because you haven't felt good. You need the confidence back.
You need that dick.
You got to hit the dick. But you also, through getting it is getting the confidence back, Marcus. But it is. It makes you feel more confident in your sense of self and where you're going in life. That if you are with a partner that desires you, it is a big part of it. And he sounds like an asshole.
Yeah, he does. I don't know. Maybe there's a lot you're not telling us about him, and maybe he's a perfectly fine person otherwise and a perfectly fine partner otherwise, but it kind of sounds like that there's probably a lot more problems here that either you're not looking at, that you're ignoring, or just aren't that big of a deal. But it seems like shit like this adds up, and it seems like shit like this just gets worse as you get older.
And something that's I feel like that it's a big red flag in a relationship if there's a big issue that you are scared to bring up because the other person gets mad. That is a red flag.
Yeah, it is.
It's huge and it's in your face, but it's hard to see it when you're in it. But that is a huge red flag, that if you're scared to talk to him about stuff, about anything. I mean, of course, everyone's got their hot button. You don't want to talk about someone that's passed or things like that. But at the same time, that's different. If he is not willing to talk about this, that is, you shouldn't deal with that.
Yeah, that's the thing. All right, so it's up to you. It's up to you what you want to do on this, but you got to do something. All right, that's all we got time for this week on Sex and Other Human Activities. If you've got a question or a comment for us, cavecomedyradio@gmail.com is the place to send it. Thank you very much for listening every week, and thank you to so many people out in Chicago that listen to this show. We did a live show in Chicago, last podcast did, and I had a ton of people come up to me after the show and said that they said that this show is very important to them. It's very important to us as well. It really helps us out too. So thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you for the kind words, and thank you for supporting us just as much as you say we support you.
Hakuna ma fuck it.
Made nose to be free, fucker.